Possibly this is the first person that I'm meeting who's done FRM first and then he's doing CFA. So it's going to be very interesting to ask some questions. और देखते हैं कि बस टाइम पे आ जाए.
Hello, hi Alan. Sorry for keeping you waiting.
No problem.
Apologies for the delay.
No problem. No problem. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
You don't have office today?
Actually, I just came to office. So I was on the way. That's why I got a bit late, about 5 to 10 minutes, just, getting down and coming inside the building.
Okay. So, welcome to the session of Industry Unscripted. The reason why we're doing these sessions is so that we give the students and the candidates a very unbiased view of how things have been working out for the industry professionals and what actually goes on, instead of giving them a very predefined recorded videos, which probably is the norm of the day, which is actually not true, right? So
Yes.
So first, you have a very interesting profile. I suppose you started with music.
No, that was actually just a hobby. So back in the day, right? Since my parents always had this habit, like, we used to go to church, and church we used to have those organ players, right? So they always had that inclination that my son or daughter should be keyboard player. So that's where the inclination for music came in. And
So you meant to say that you don't like music?
No, I like music because to some extent, the formation for mathematics for me came through music, because there's a lot of discipline in music, and each so there's even a minuscule of a beat, right? That you divide a beat into 1/8 of it also. So even that 1/8 of, and that really makes a difference. And it also, not only mathematics, it also includes a lot of punctuality. That punctuality, I don't think it comes from sport. Usually, when you make a mistake in a piece, right? When you're playing music, if you make that one small mistake,
gone.
Just that one, then you have to repeat it again. and the sad part was, the first person whom I learned music from. If you even made that one mistake, he used to have a stick and used to hit you on your knuckles.
Okay, this
So
is
you have to be very careful.
when you were what age you started?
It was about 11 or 12 years. This is way back, like what was 20 years ago.
Acha. So I mean, you did this for how long?
I did it for about I think 7 or 8 years back then. But then you know how. Thankfully now the entire family landscape, how people think is different. Back then, so you, when you used to do music or any other talent that you had, say when you cross 15, 16, your music used to take a backseat, or any other talent that you had used to take a backseat, and then you focus on education to progress here. But now it is a lot different.
So you still play music now?
Yeah, when I'm free, that time I just take something, and if I like some tune, if it keeps ringing in my it's there in my mind, I just try to see how they play it. Keyboard, sometimes ukulele. So that's about it.
Very nice. So what's with the name? I mean, can you tell us something about your name? Your name is Rohan Robert Miranda. So
yes.
So like, are you like somewhere related to Anglo history or something like that?
No. It's not Anglo history. So it's basically, if you so Rohan is like a normal Indian name that you have, right? Robert is my father's name, because in Maharashtra you need to have the father's name with the middle name. The surname is actually part of the Portuguese when they had come to India, right? So a lot of my my family initially, I mean, although they're based out of Mangalore, but a lot of them were from Goa before.
Okay.
And they left Goa for me. Yeah. So it's just that Portuguese, and I mean, it's not an ancestry. It's just that you had that influence back then. So that's where the
You mean to say that there is someone in the family who might be Portuguese before? That's why you have the name.
It's. I'm not saying that there was somebody in the family who was Portuguese. It's just that we had that Portuguese influence because you had a lot of conversion to Catholicism in Goa. So
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question to you is that when I saw your profile, right? Do you think your the family background, or let's say your interest of your father, mother, or grandparents, your education has something to do with you being very, very probably consistent with your education? I mean, if you look at your profile, you have always been a good student from the start. I mean, you have है थोड़ा सा तो है मतलब रैंक वैंक है आपका यार तो पहले पहले दिख जाता है ये फर्स्ट रैंक फिर यहाँ पर भी रैंक वहां पर भी रैंक म्यूजिक भी पढ़ लिया आपने स्कूल तो ये क्या है मतलब किस चीज का influence है
नहीं वही एक था कि like since my parents were hardworking back then, right? Because they came from, so they were born and brought up in Bangalore, and they came to Bombay. And when you come as first time to Bombay, and you don't have anything, right? They have to build everything from scratch. So you see that hard work that has gone through, and they used to always push that, आपको हमारे जैसे struggle नहीं करना है. You don't have to slog like us, right? You have to have something better. So that's where the mindset came. I mean, why I said it was a compliment that you consider me a good student. I was an average student throughout my school. Hard work. And honestly, आपको बताओ, I didn't know I had got that rank. It's only that so when I was in school, right? 10th स्टैंड होने के बाद सडनली स्कूल से कॉल आ जाता है कि बोल के कि आपको इसमें रैंक मिला है. मेरे को पता ही नहीं था. 8 महीने हो गए, मतलब 8 महीने 6 महीने हो गए एग्जाम के बाद, रिजल्ट आने के बाद मेरे को पता ही था रैंक मिला है. एंड देन व्हेन दे हैड टू अवार्ड दोस स्कॉलरशिप्स तभी पता चला कि मेरे को रैंक मिला है. इवन माय पीयर्स, वो जो व्हेन यू हैव दैट अवार्ड सेरेमनी, राइट? Even my peers, they looked at me standing the line, is like, ये क्या कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे? It was that kind of a situation. But then,
you like studying or not?
Pardon?
You were interested in studying, like you were like in अंदर से आपको पढ़ने की इच्छा होती थी कि नहीं होती? मेरे को तो नहीं होती थी अपने टाइम पे.
To be honest, बहुत बार इच्छा नहीं होती थी, but वही है ना कि कुछ subjects थे which you were really interested in, and some subjects you were not interested in. ठीक है. हिस्ट्री और जो मेरा रैंक है हिस्ट्री, उसमें मेरे को बिल्कुल भी इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. ठीक है, बट हाँ उसमें रैंक आ गया. एंड द सरप्राइजिंग पार्ट इज मेरे को वो नंबर जो है नंबर याद थे कि इस साल में ऐसे कुछ हुआ है. ठीक है, तो मतलब बैक देन आई शुड जस्ट डिनोट दैट ये साल में ये कुछ हुआ था. आई मीन आई कुड जस्ट create a mind map out of it. So that's how I managed to clear that subject or get good marks in a subject. But अगर आप मेरे को बोलो कि रूट से पढ़ो, वो तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं होता था, अभी भी नहीं होता है.
अच्छा नहीं होता. फिर मुझे एक चीज बताइए, आप बहुत मतलब probably very rarest of people I've met जो पहले FRM करता है और उसके बाद CFA करता है. जनरली उल्टा देखा जाता है कि पहले CFA करता है, बेस बन जाता है, उसके बाद होता है कि हाँ चलो स्पेशलाइजेशन रिस्क मैनेजमेंट करना है तो FRM कर लेते हैं. आपकी क्या स्टोरी है ये? FRM पहले फिर CFA बाद?
Okay, so actually क्या हुआ था कि I had done an MBA and then I was working with Wipro in Pune. So back then I had one of my supervisors who used to head our department, and उसने बोला था तभी कि देखो ये जो MBA आपने किया है, राइट, वो कुछ साल के लिए रहता है. I mean ये काफी लोगों से सुनने के मिला. इवन ये प्रोफेसर जो रहते हैं ना, वो भी बोलते हैं कि 1-2 साल मैक्सिमम, इवन आप IIM ऐसे भी कर रहे हो ना, 1-2 साल मैक्सिमम वो MBA काम आता है. उसके बाद आपको खुद का कुछ करना पड़ता है. So he said, if you really want to, stand out, I mean, how long will you keep proving yourself, right? So back then, the supervisor, he was, I think, about 44 years old, and he was doing FRM back then.
Achha.
Even at that, that age, and considering that at that age you have a lot of responsibilities, you understand, managing an entire department, he was doing, and he encouraged us to do FRM. So that's when I started with FRM back then, and
Your
then
work
uske
had
baad,
nothing to do with FRM at that point. Your work had nothing to do with FRM at that point.
The department that we were in, right? So we used to cater to a client, and that client had a lot of there are a lot of processes that were related to risk.
Okay.
So if you had an FRM, it was an added advantage. Like they could upsell you as a person who understands risk and understands what the stakeholder is trying to say, the use cases. So so whenever you go on a client call, they wouldn't have to break things down to you. You rather understand what they're saying, and then you'll be able to deliver on what they require.
It's interesting because just the last interview that I had done with Nikhil Jain, I mean, he was CFA charter holder, and obviously he came from credit side. And I had asked him the same question, that why did you do CFA? And his answer was very similar, stating that the conversations that I used to have with my client much more detailed, and I didn't have a problem understanding and probably delivering the detailed knowledge to the client also. And you also seem to be agreeing with the same fact.
Yes, you need to understand what the client is trying to achieve. So what a lot of times what happens is, right, if like I think I watched Nikhil's video as well. So he mentions that you to understand what the client what's his goal, what's his objective.
Right.
So being just an MBA finance or any other degree, right, even if you're a BTech graduate, you will not understand what he's trying to say.
Correct.
Right. And if you have like FRM at least gives you that base, or CFA also gives you that base, right? So a lot of the products, and mind you, CFA just covers the basics of your products. A lot of your products that go beyond that are, you need to know those fundamentals. So if you know those fundamentals, you'll understand what the client is saying. So sometimes the client will come and say something like, what is a subordinated swap, right? So but you know what is subordinated, and you know what is swap. So because of those two linkages and those the fundamentals that you have, either through FRM or CFA, that helps you understand the client's use case and deliver on his expectations.
आपने CFA क्यों कर लिया?
कोविड का टाइम था, घर पे बैठे थे.
आपकी हॉबी थी क्या मतलब चार्टर लेना?
तभी ऐसा हाँ, कोई और हॉबी ले सकते थे, बट वही था कि घर पे बैठे थे एंड काफी टाइम तक मतलब आई थिंक 2 साल, लगभग 2-3 साल लग गया. No, I'm not married. I have no kids. So luckily on that front.
इसलिए आपने कर लिया.
इसलिए आपने.
हर 2 साल में आप एजुकेशन खत्म कर देते हो. ट्रेंड देखा मैंने आपका.
Sorry, I didn't.
I see a trend जिसमें हर 2 साल में to take a new qualification. Let's say आपने MBA कंप्लीट किया. MBA 2 साल काम करने के बाद किया.
हाँ, 2 साल काम करने के बाद.
फिर वापस 2 साल काम किया, फिर आपने FRM किया, फिर वापस 2 साल काम किया, फिर आपने CFA किया.
CFA, करेक्ट.
इसके आगे क्या करोगे आप? CA आगे?
उसका एग्जाम दे चुका हूँ.
अरे यार. CA अभी दे चुके हो?
हाँ, दे चुका हूँ. अभी रिजल्ट आना बाकी है. आई थिंक मार्च एंड में मेरा एग्जाम था. तो एनीवे कंपनी ने स्पॉन्सर.
CA level 1 part 1 you're giving level 1 or you're giving part 2?
Part 2 because इसमें वो stackable program है, right? You can because if you're a CFA charter holder, you can directly use level 2. Yes. So anyway,
CA मतलब लगा आपको पढ़ के?
there are कुछ concepts हैं जैसे आपकी volatility related जो chapters है, right? या catastrophic bonds वगैरह, वो I think CFA में covered नहीं है. So I found that very interesting.
पर वो तो एक ही topic है ना सर? वो तो एक topic पढ़ लेते हैं.
हाँ, वो भी है. बीच में and the other thing was मेरी कंपनी ने like they sponsored it immediately. So मतलब वो ऐसा भी नहीं है कि आप एग्जाम देने के बाद पास करो तभी, एंड द फीस आर अ लॉट, राइट, सीआई के
अभी सर
काफी है।
आपको कौन स्पॉन्सर नहीं करेगा सर? आप सबको पता, आप पास होने ही वाले हो।
नहीं,
CQT,
but इधर वो
you have given CQF also now.
No, I've not given CQ.
Are you considering it?
वो नहीं, वो कोई स्पॉन्सर नहीं करने वाला है, वो काफी महंगा भी है।
Exactly. तो
हाँ बोलो।
तो मतलब FRM, then CFA, then CAIA, now you are attempting, right? आपके हिसाब से इन सब क्वालिफिकेशन में से सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट आपके लिए कौन सा था इन टर्म्स ऑफ दिमाग खुलना फॉर इंडस्ट्री?
A lot of it has to do with with CFA. I think CFA covers a lot of the aspects, right? So FR में क्या होता है कि आपका level 1 में अच्छे से develop होता है, ठीक है? But when you go to level 2, it's still cluttered.
Yeah.
But if you look at CFA, the way they are structured it, right, in terms of you go from level 1, level 2, and level 3, and also that वो पर्सपेक्टिव जो आप इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रोफेशनल की तरफ देखते हो, राइट, हाउ यू शुड थिंक and how you should think as a wealth creation. So that essence that CFA brings in, I don't think any other course has it in the market right now.
So has it had any effect on your personal finance also?
Yeah, so looking at like CFA level 3, you have this entire concept, right? We don't put all our eggs in one basket. You look at diversification. You look at not only India, you look at abroad, and you look at it from different angles. And also अभी आपके luckily unluckily मेरे time पे उन्होंने taxation के chapters निकाल दिए थे. तो but even from that perspective, आप अगर देखोगे, it makes you well aware कि मेरे को अगर in the long term, जैसे see you work till 60 के बाद क्या, वो retirement का कैसे आप plan करोगे. So in that perspective also it helps you कि आप in the future आप how do you see your wealth growing and create wealth accumulation throughout your the rest of your career.
So according
And
so a practical question to you is like, considering that you've done CFA and you're also working in the industry, has your perspective changed in terms of creating a portfolio, like, probably chasing returns which are pretty sane, like 15-16% ऐसा expectation है? या क्योंकि जनता, if you see the market, when the markets are at euphoric levels, people tend, even the chai wala is interested in F&O markets, right? And
yes.
expectation is somewhere 30-40%. Has that changed after doing CFA? Do you have same expectations?
I still have same expectations. I don't believe that वो जो 30-40% है वो आपको उतना ही रिस्क लेना पड़ता है, right? And considering that you are also working, तो आप उतना एक्टिवली आप पोर्टफोलियो नहीं मैनेज कर पाते हो. एंड वो इट्स नॉट ओनली विद मी, इट्स इवन विद माय मैनेजर हो गया. वो भी बोलता रहता है, यार अगर मेरे पास टाइम रहता तो मैं एक्टिवली इन्वॉल्व होता, मैं म्यूचुअल फंड में नहीं इन्वेस्ट करता.
लेकिन सर प्रॉब्लम वही है ना कि सर यही तो थ्योरी भी थी ना कि एक्टिव करने पे, अगर मैं सस्टेनेबली इसको डेटा को देखूं, एक्टिव मैनेजमेंट करके और पैसिव मैनेजमेंट रिटर्न्स में ज्यादा बीट करना लॉन्ग टर्म में बहुत मुश्किल है.
करेक्ट, दैट आई एग्री विद यू ऑन दैट पॉइंट.
एक चलो एक्टिव कर लेता हूँ, लेट्स से ये साल करता हूँ, ये साल आ भी जाएगा शायद, लेकिन नेक्स्ट ईयर लॉस ज्यादा होगा जो मार्केट, तो ऑन एन एवरेज तो आप इंडेक्स को बीट करना ही मुश्किल है विदाउट टेकिंग मोर रिस्क पर यूनिट.
Correct. That's absolutely true. I don't see, मतलब अगर आप वो एंड उसके लिए आपको उतना रिसर्च और दिमाग भी लगाना पड़ता है. But I have seen some people, those who had this very they look at this very stable, and you must have seen now this mid cap and small cap boom.
Yeah.
तो उन लोग ने बहुत स्टेबल कंपनीज के साथ गए मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप स्पेस में. दे लुक्ड एट कंपनीज दैट आर लाइक डिविडेंड यील्ड sort of companies that grow at fixed pattern over this entire period, and they have created a lot of wealth over the last 3 years. So that's where I see that if you are actually actively or even to some extent over the weekends, if you do some analysis, I've seen people grow their wealth. But
sir, that's what you said is on spot on. For example, if you had companies in that bucket. Some companies would turn out to be like Titan.
Yeah, something like Titan, yeah.
Right, Titan, or let's say in IT space, if you want, then we could talk about Tata LXI or L&T Technologies. And somewhere these businesses are good businesses. Now, beyond when you actually put the filters to what I need, कि मेरे को ये चाहिए या ये मतलब डिविडेंड यील्ड, आरओसी, आरओई, ये सब मेरे पैरामीटर्स हैं, ज्यादा कंपनी बचते नहीं है एनालिसिस के लिए.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree on that point. कि उसमें
20 to 25 companies there, right?
Yes, 20 to 25 companies ही हैं. There's not much, and उनका भी वो cyclicity रहता है.
Exactly.
कि after some time, जैसे आपका like classic example would be HUL. Pre-COVID अच्छे से भाग रहा था, and now it is like एकदम it's not that volatile that we expected.
मारुति देख लें, अभी तो मारुति भाग रहा है.
हाँ, मारुति भाग रहा है.
एक cyclical है, लेकिन वो वापस मतलब, लेकिन इसके बियॉन्ड यूनिवर्स में मतलब हाँ हो सकते हैं एक दो कंपनीज जो आते हैं, लेकिन ज्यादा एनालिसिस करने के लिए कुछ बचता ही नहीं. और
बचा नहीं,
क्या करोगे एनालिसिस अब इसके साथ? मतलब मेन इंडियन मार्केट में तो प्रॉब्लम चोरी का है.
Okay. वो भी है.
Probably you would agree, right? Because data transparency is not as good as probably in the US.
Somewhere in, yes, exactly.
Right, and in fact, when I speak to a lot of I would say casually, very senior people investing in the market, they are all ये सब इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं वो ऑपरेटर लेड अकाउंट्स में, जो आपके सपोजिंग आपके एमएसएमई की है, जो स्टॉक्स लिस्ट होते हैं एनएसई में, वो पूरा ऑपरेटर मतलब प्राइस मैनिपुलेशन का मार्केट है, जो सेबी ट्राई करती है रोकने की, लेकिन वो रैम्पेंट चल रहा है.
हाँ, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with you. वो काफी चलता है, and there's also somewhat I mean, there's this thing of where you spoke to Nikhil also about conflict of interest.
Yeah.
I mean, वो भी to some extent वो रहता ही है. I mean, you can't avoid it. There are sometimes even some insiders who try to boost or manipulate the stock, जो होता है, right?
Right.
So yeah.
तो मतलब बचे ही तो अच्छे कंपनीज ही बचे ना 20-25, अब उसमें क्या एनालिसिस करना है?
हाँ, उसमें तो अच्छे, मतलब उससे अच्छा तो आप ETF में या म्यूचुअल फंड में ही डाल दो, मतलब जहाँ पे एक्टिव.
Do you follow any specific fund manager? Do you follow any specific fund manager that you like?
To be honest, I don't. My entire investment is just in the ETF space. I just put all my so I diversify between India and US. Keep that 50-50 bifurcation. So I think that passive management works for me. Right. But I think recently I don't know the manager, but I see a lot of activity in terms of this fund house, Mary asset company. Right? They have a lot of new funds that are, or even there's that quant mutual fund that has come. I find them, they are quite good. Yeah.
Quant mutual fund, and I see that you also follow Saurav Mukherjee. What are you Saurav Mukherjee?
Not much. I mean, I just read sometimes his articles, but not much in terms of his
strategy. Are you convinced with the strategy? आपको क्या लगता है strategy? क्योंकि धजिया हैं फिलहाल तो उनके strategy के बारे में. Although I believe in the strategy, I believe what he's saying is correct. I find, I mean, the market will judge you basis on what market at the moment is performing. तो बहुत सारे लोगों ने क्रिटिसाइज किया है उनके स्ट्रेटजीज को कि रिटर्न्स नहीं आ रहे हैं, एक्सपेंसिव.
See, to be honest, any strategy, I think there would be some pitfalls, right? Depending on the how the market performs, the cyclicity of the market, right? So maybe कुछ variables उसके strategy में they didn't consider this kind of sort of scenario. But I'm not like very well versed on the strategy, so maybe not the right person to comment on it.
Or do you not want to discuss this because Probably you're not invested in active management, इसलिए डिस्कस नहीं करना चाहते हो, या बहुत आप हम्बल बनने की कोशिश कर रहे हो?
To be honest, one of the what you mentioned, that active management may invest in me, and secondly, I have not really followed this one, right? So, वो भी है. There are so because of this. Rather than commenting on something that which I'm not 100% clear, I
बिल्कुल
always try to be humble. Yeah.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. तो सर एक चीज बताइए कि आप इंजीनियरिंग से आए हैं. हाउ डिड
Mm-hmm.
इंजीनियरिंग, मतलब आजकल शायद आज तक भी लोगों को तमीज से पता नहीं है कि
Mm-hmm.
इंजीनियरिंग से फाइनेंस में करियर बन सकता है. बिकॉज पीपल थिंक द यूजुअल वे दे थिंक, राइट, कि
Mm-hmm.
इंजीनियरिंग मतलब मैं अभी जाऊंगा मैकेनिकल, उसके बाद इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स, या उसके बाद जाके फिर मैं एमबीए करूंगा, उसके बाद जाके मैं सी. तो आपके हिसाब से ऐसा कुछ इंडस्ट्री में है क्या कि इंजीनियरिंग जो ग्रेजुएट्स हैं
Mm-hmm.
without doing an MBA, can they enter into places like risk management?
Yes, they can. To be honest, I have seen people, those who are from the engineering background, those have just come into the risk management. They do really well actually.
Hmm.
So, but the precursor for it is you require some course like the CFA or
Right.
FRM. Um, one fundamental that a lot of engineers have is that they can you know um, understand the concept really well, right? They can grasp that concept, and also they reverse engineer how the entire thing, how an entire product or entire valuation spec, and they get that very clearly. Uh, so because of this mindset, a lot of these people who are from the technical background or from specifically from a science background have, it becomes much more easier for them to excel in this kind of a career.
तो
Um,
possible.
yeah, it is, and to be honest, I've seen a lot of them succeeding in this career.
So my next question is that, see, equity research, investment banking, IB ops, इसके बारे में सबको मोटा मोटी काफी पता है. मतलब या पब्लिक नॉलेज में पता भी चल जाता है कि हाउ इट वर्क्स. बट रिस्क मैनेजमेंट थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लिकेट हो जाता है. तो आप पहले हमको बताएंगे कि व्हाट इज रिस्क मैनेजमेंट. मेरे को भी नहीं समझ में आता कि व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज द इंडस्ट्री दैट यू आर वर्किंग ऑन, व्हाट एग्जैक्टली सर्विस आर यू प्रोवाइडिंग.
Okay. See, currently the company I work for, we have a product. That product is used by a lot of firms across the world. It's basically an analytical product that's used by them for computation of, in this case, just for market risk and market related liquidity risk, right? So there's a lot of methodologies that come into picture. Like you must have learned of all these concepts called VAR and all that, right? So even VAR, there are different applications of it. The way each, say, especially with Monte Carlo VAR, each company would have its own different interpretation and application. Some of them would use something like the Benson-Zakari approach or Cholsky decomposition. So you have these things, and how this applies, right? Now, if you look at it from the real world perspective, risk management is your middle office. You have your front office where your traders sit. Now, a trader wants to book his trade, right? He is convinced everything that he sees an opportunity to make money. But then to book his trade, he needs some insight of whether this trade is it what is the risk exposure he's taking, whether it will really have a run on the bank. What kind of what kind of
More into some
capital.
leverage products, no?
Yeah, it's not only, it's more of latex products because like you mentioned. It just gives you a figure as what this is where we come in, that okay, if you want to book a trade, this is the kind of exposure you're looking at, and each trader again has on a daily basis what's the maximum amount he can take in terms of the capital that can be deployed, and what kind of exposure you can take on a daily basis, right? So this is where risk management comes in, and why a person. If a person who's sound analytically, who's a nice quant mindset, right? They can do really well because in this space,
Okay.
because you get to play with a lot of mathematics on your daily basis. So when you because nothing is straightforward, because in the role that I'm in, a lot of our clients reach out to us to understand how is this computed.
So what is your role, if I may ask? आपका role क्या है?
Okay, so my role is I work as in the client services division at MSCI. So what we do is based on a product risk manager, we have different methodologies around different be it statistic or what be it, right? So based on the methodologies, we get client queries saying that okay, this is the number computed. How did you compute this number, or is this number correct? Right? And it can be that it can also be sometimes since it's a lot of data driven, because you now if you consider a simple asset management firm, उनका क्या रहता है maximum will invest in your regular products, be it equity, right? I hear a lot of echo.
Wait, just a second. Now it's fine?
Yeah, now it's fine. Yeah. So you hear but if you consider something like a hedge fund, right? A hedge fund would have different kind of trades, and they look at those bases or that spread that they can capture and make money out of it. So their trades are a lot more challenging because see, when they take the sophisticated trades, they also challenge a lot of the data, but your data is accurate or no, and sometimes our data may not be accurate. That's it. Could be just sometimes looking at the divergence between what we learned, I think, in something like pairs trade that you expect. So it could be the divergence that they're betting on, that they're expecting that to revert to mean, or in that sense. So this is where a lot of your expertise that you have from CFA, or and also your analytical mindset that you've developed over the course of this period comes into play.
So is it required that or let me just first ask you this question, that how does your typical day as a person in working risk management work? I mean, what do you do on a daily basis? Like, how does your day start? As opposed to, we know what happens in equity research, right? It's very different kind of a day.
So, okay, so I'll just put a caveat before the work profile that I'm in. It might not be the exact replication of what a risk manager would do,
right.
because we cater to a product. So
I don't think so there is any such role also, right? That would be risk management. You would obviously be in some function related to risk management.
Yes, it would be some fun. So what happens is, I'm talking about in perspective of a bank. So if you're in a bank, right, say you're in an XYZ bank, you're in some function that you're playing a part in that entire process. In our case, what happens is we have an XYZ bank who would be a client, right? And if they see that something is not right in their, or they would like to understand how something is working in that product, because a lot of these computations that we have, or a lot of these reports, or any of these analytics that is there, is then fed into their systems, and that system those numbers then go to the regulators, right?
Okay.
So if they have any queries, right, with regards to how do you compute this, or you created this, suppose we when you backtest our models, if there is any something that you would like to understand, why is there such a lot of divergence, why is this are your models robust, what kind of methodology to use, so all these kind of queries, they come to us. So I mean, we don't know it completely, but then we have to check internally, and then we probably reach out to research and get information on how these methodologies are computed, and then respond to them. I mean, it's in a way that you get curious, and you develop that that content that you need. So I mean, in future course of time, that the small bits and pieces of curiosity that you had before adds up to maybe another client query that comes in.
So do you also play some part in the product development also? I mean, this current product that you are giving, you are also called in for probably giving insights into what new things can be done in the product?
Yeah. Now this part, right, usually depends on the client's use case, right? And if the client demands it, right, they feel that this is something that's lacking, then we do raise out to our there's a separate product team. We raise this to them and ask them that this is something that the client would like, and then based on there's a cost benefit analysis and all that. Uh, Based on that, we provide the feedback. The client submits the use case that they have, and then those features are added into a product.
अच्छा, अभी लेकिन आपके हिसाब से, अच्छा दूसरा, मैं थोड़ा ऑफ टॉपिक जा रहा हूँ कि दिसंबर से अगर आप देखते हैं, दिसंबर 23 से लेके कम से कम फरवरी तक या उससे पहले काफी स्लो डाउन था इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंडस्ट्री. हायरिंग्स नहीं हो रही थी, मतलब काफी, मतलब बहुत कंपनी ने हायरिंग चालू की थी, फिर बंद कर दी थी या फ्रीज कर दी थी, होल्ड कर दी थी. अभी आपके हिसाब से क्या स्टेटस है?
टू बी ऑनेस्ट, अभी प्रॉब्ली एक चीज मैंने देखा है कि स्पेशली ऑन द टर्म्स ऑफ फ्रेशर्स, वो थोड़ा हायरिंग चालू, मतलब दे आर एटलीस्ट लेवलिंग अप टू दैट, कीपिंग अप टू द लेवल, और या फिर थोड़ा ज्यादा भी कर रहे हैं, राइट? आई मीन दे आर हायरिंग फ्रेशर्स एटलीस्ट दिस,
फ्रेशर्स क्यों हायर कर
बट फ्रेशर बिकॉज लाइक इफ यू कंसिडर फ्रेशर, राइट, आपको अगर कोई भी कोई नया टेक्नोलॉजी, कोई भी ये हो, राइट, टू ट्रेन देम इट्स मच मोर इजियर rather than someone who's a lateral hire. Usually उनको ट्रेन करना और ये करना, so you develop that mindset, right, after a few years. अगर आप सीनियर हो, I mean, I think this is something that Nikhil was, pardon, sorry,
रेजिस्टेंस, राइट?
resistance, exactly. वो rigidness थोड़ा आ जाता है, that people don't usually want to, if they find that say a particular skill set, they have made a lot of bread and butter out of it, and they feel that they can still do that. So थोड़ा वो resistance आ जाता है कि मैं ये क्यों करूं.
करेक्ट.
So
लेकिन वही खाली
yeah,
रीजन थोड़ा होगा हायरिंग करने का, मतलब फ्रेशर, अभी फ्रेशर हायरिंग तो कोई और भी रीजंस की वजह से होगी ना?
हाँ, वो भी है, लाइक यू मेंशन. सो यूजुअली वो पाइपलाइन बिल्ड करते हैं. इफ यू सी मोस्ट ऑफ और इफ यू सी मोस्ट ऑफ द आईटी कंपनीज, दे क्रिएट अ पाइपलाइन. आगे जाके there could be some projects that would be coming in, and based on those projects they look at the skill sets would be in demand, and based they would they upskill these freshers that come in for those roles. बट अगर आप lateral hire के terms में बात करो, I don't, maybe I'm not the right person to comment, but I don't see that kind of that hiring that was there way back in 2021 or 2022 when the markets were really crazy.
राइट, ठीक है. अच्छा सर, एक स्ट्रेट सवाल मैंने निखिल को पूछा था, आपसे पूछ लेता हूँ. आप चाहिए अलग तरीके से बता सकते हैं कि आपकी सैलरी ग्रोथ कैसी है? How did you, at what salary did you start? Where are you? How much did the CFA, FRM, MBA affect? We don't want to know the exact numbers. We just want to have an idea.
Okay, so see, to be honest, maybe I'm not exactly the right person to answer this, but yeah, if I would give you the...
आपसे पूछूंगा. How can you be the right person?
वो डिपेंड करता है ना, एलन. सो फॉर एग्जांपल, आपको अगर what kind of role or what kind of out perspective, that what kind of job function do you want to perform?
So आपका फर्स्ट जॉब जब आप पहले थे, चालू किए थे, इंजीनियरिंग के बाद वाला जॉब नहीं बोल रहा हूँ मैं बोल रहा हूँ जिसमें आपने रिस्क में कुछ काम किया था, विप्रो में आए थे, राइट?
हाँ, वो एमबीए के बाद, हाँ, करेक्ट.
How much was the salary that time? That is long time back, no conflict, no.
Yeah, that was a long time back, and see, it was a regular, I believe, जो अगर उस टाइम का जो tier 2 MBA कॉलेज का ये सैलरी था, राइट, एवरेज सैलरी उतना मिला था
के आसपास 6-7 लाख.
हाँ, पकड़ लो उसके आसपास. हाँ,
और अब उसके बाद बहुत सारा हुआ, और अभी आप मॉर्गन स्टैनली में हो, तो कितने टाइम्स पकड़ लो मिनिमम?
नहीं, उतना तो नहीं है. I mean, that because हाँ, पकड़ लो उतना उसके आसपास. तो you have this So see, it depends now again. Like for example, if you're looking at a particular, if you're looking, there are two perspectives, right? The wrong way to put it. There are two perspectives. Are you looking for money, or are you looking for a skill set?
Right.
Right. So I mean, a CFA teaches you a lot to be money.
That is how you are thinking, and I am completely in sync with what you are saying. But that's how probably a lot of I think I don't know, I don't want to blame anyone, but I think मेरे को लगता है कि ऐसी सीख किसी ने दी नहीं है हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में ना, कि सब कुछ इज रिलेटेड विद मनी. ये कर लिया, इसका इस ऐसा करते जैसे कि ये कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट है. एजुकेशन का इन्वेस्टमेंट आरओआई कैसे कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं? पॉसिबल ही नहीं.
पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. एग्जैक्टली.
यू कांट कैलकुलेट.
Exactly.
So you would say also that you have done. I don't think so. The 6 times, 7 times, whatever growth you have seen is only because of the qualifications. Because probably it was interest.
Yeah, and it's also your, the kind of, the role that you want to play, right? If I were to say that, you could get, the amount that I've quoted, right? The multiplier, right? You could get a higher multiplier, maybe at another firm, right? But then again, there would be limitations in terms of your learning.
Right.
And that skill set you'll not get. So you'll not get that kind of skill set. So, like you mentioned, right? Education is like an investment, right? You can't take it in terms of whatever your IRR calculation or ROI calculation. So, but then what happens? So, if you take this is my personal philosophy. If you take that higher amount right now, you might, if say you don't get that, and I've had this experience in the past, you might not get that kind of exposure. And since you don't have that kind of exposure, it's all about fundamentals, right? If you don't have that kind of exposure, if you say from here you move to some other organization, since you have a strong base, that will play a huge role. Like since now the role that I'm currently in, right, we cater to a lot of clients, so we know each client's use case, how they work, and you understand, right? Their management perspective.
Right.
But if I were to join, say, an XYZ bank, that exposure would be just limited to an XYZ bank. Right. And then you go to ABC bank.
So you are saying so you are consciously aware of this, and that is why you want to stick to providing this service to many types of customers, is what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Because the exposure that you get, right? Because you see, to be honest, two clients, and both, if you consider just two clients, both those clients will never be the same. Obviously. They will have their own perspective, own methodology of looking at things. And although we provide the same sort of service, it's just that the way they approach it is different, right? That difference in approach, right, is where you get to learn. So what is the end game for you?
What is the end game for you? क्या करना चाहते हो आप? कुछ तो प्लान होगा. नहीं, एंड गेम तो अभी के लिए तो फिलहाल तो यही है that ये skill, the exposure that I get to learn about it, right? And end game, maybe I don't know, maybe it's not the right time to comment in this public forum, but yeah, it's something on those lines. Since you have that kind of exposure. नहीं सर, कैसे end game नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ, MSc को नहीं पता चलेगा. We're not talking about leaving MSc है. I'm just talking about risk management के एंगल से. अगर आप अब फिलहाल आपको एक्सपोजर है अलग अलग क्लाइंट्स को देने का, इन टर्म्स ऑफ व्हाट यू वांट टू डू इन रिस्क मैनेजमेंट, और इज इट गोइंग टू बी अ डिफरेंट थिंग दैट यू वांट परसुइंग इन द लॉन्ग टर्म? कुछ और ही करना है लॉन्ग टर्म की बात कर रहा हूं मैं, या लॉन्ग टर्म में रहना चाहते हो? Sorry, I didn't get the last question. This kind of work? Yeah. I would like to stay in the same sort of profile, because since it's a lot of analytics and quant related, so now there could be different diversions from it. You can become a quantitative analyst, right? Or you can become you can go into the risk management space and reach as high as the CRO level, right? So this is where your bifurcation comes in, and you can also want to go to the ultimate end game is CRO. Yeah, the ultimate end game, if you look at it from the risk management perspective, would be CRO.
right? Even if you go from the quant, I think it would be CRO, and then you have the third line, which is consulting. I believe I think Nikhil and you had a lot of discussion on that.
And then that is something which is we can keep on debating. अच्छा एक चीज बताओ सर कि अगर 10 साल पहले ऐसा होता ना कि यार मुझे 10 साल पहले अगर ये पता होता ना तो बिकॉज आज वो हम सही चीज कर रहे होते हैं बट हमको पता नहीं होता था तो इसकी वजह से बहुत सारा हमने मतलब एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन किया है और ट्रायल से हमको पता चल गया अच्छा ये सही है तो आपका ऐसा चीज हुआ है जिस लर्निंग हुई है जो आपको शायद पता होता पहले इंजीनियरिंग टाइम में पता होता तो मेरी टाइम बच जाता और कुछ नहीं है
I mean, एक regret. I mean, see,
MBA.
MBA को I wouldn't regret it, to be honest. देखो actually we didn't know this, but see we had that time CFA के जो अगर आप देखोगे काफी branding चलता था इंडिया में. If you consider 10 years ago, right? वो YouTube में काफी ads वगैरह आते थे. But वो एक hesitation रहता था ना. So I'll just give you an example. When I was studying, when I was pursuing an MBA course, right? Even our professor, वो लोग बोलते थे CFA में 3 options होते हैं, ठीक है? वो 3 options बहुत close रहते हैं, ठीक है? सब गलत भी like it's very mind numbing and ये सब मतलब they make it so difficult, ठीक है? But कोई ये नहीं बोलता कि आप अगर हार्ड वर्क लगा लो, आपसे हो जाएगा वो.
Exactly.
ये नहीं बोलता, ठीक है?
बताते हैं आपको कि डिफिकल्ट कितना है. मेरे को उल्टा बताया गया था कि देखो बस अगर हम CFA देखें तो 6% लोग पास हो रहे हैं मतलब स्टार्ट टू एंड अगर हम कैलकुलेट करें विच इज ऑलमोस्ट इक्विवेलेंट टू समथिंग लाइक CA और स्लाइटली CA से थोड़ा सा ज्यादा होगा और अगर हम वर्ल्ड वाइड का स्टेटिस्टिक्स देखें तो 2.5 लाख ही CFA चार्टर होल्डर्स हैं तो मतलब स्टेटिस्टिकली तो दिस लुक्स लाइक इम्पॉसिबल because so many students, crores and crores of students. But then at the end of the day, this statistics is of no use. Because this statistics does not consider the fact that whether you're interested in this topic or not, whether you spend the time on that content or not, right? And when you put in the work or not, what do you think?
Yeah, and yeah, I think you're bang on the point in this particular example that you gave. So what happens is a lot of people, right? A lot of students, अभी वो craze बन गया है. Like, I mean, back in the day, we never had that. I think there was a certain proportion, but a lot of them just pursue, say, a CFA level 1. Ki possibly this could lead me somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But then वो effort और that kind of dedication जो है वो नहीं रहता था. I think this was quite highlighted in your CFA level 1 results जो I think 2021 2022 में आए थे, right? Those low percentage.
28-29% pass rate तक आ गया था नीचे.
Exactly. So this was highlighted when CFA Institute was taking those steps to reduce the crowd going into level 2. So what happens is if you're not serious, if you're not putting that kind of hard work, and see, it's all about now level 1 up karte ho, right? There are 10 different techniques of there are these say last minute revisions or whatever be it, ठीक है? आप पास कर लोगे, ठीक है? बट आपको लेवल 3 तक पहुंचना है, ठीक है? आपके लेवल 1 के फंडामेंटल्स पे क्वेश्चन है तो लेवल 3 में आप कैसे करोगे? यू अंडरस्टैंड? इट्स नॉट अ रेस, इट्स बेसिकली अ मैराथन. आपको वो यू हैव टू टेक दोस वन स्टेप एट अ टाइम एंड रीच दैट लेवल.
And I think मेरे experience में तो level 1 was very important for level 2 because level 2 was a huge jump from the content level of experience. Level 1 was like okay ठीक है difficult है मेहनत करना पड़ेगा लेकिन जब और I gave my exam when वो साल में level 1 जून और दिसंबर में होता था. होता था तो आइडियली लॉजिक क्या था कि पहले आप दिसंबर में लेवल 1 कर लो और फिर जून में कर लो तो दिसंबर में रिजल्ट आता था जनवरी के आसपास and the content was a huge jump. I mean, especially financial statement analysis, it went to levels which probably we have not experienced. और अगर वहां के लिए फंडामेंटल नहीं है आपका लेवल 1 का तो खत्म हो मतलब लॉजिक ही नहीं बैठता है.
Yeah, I agree with you on this point because
पूरा वापस पढ़ना पड़ता है डेरिवेटिव्स में भी स्पेसिफिकली डेरिवेटिव्स में जो एडवांस चीजें आप पढ़ रहे हो वो आपको समझ में आ रहा है अगर लेवल 1 में, तो आपको लेवल 2 में एसेट को समझने के लिए वापस पढ़ना पड़ेगा.
Yes, exactly. Because अगर आप level 1 में आपका fundamental जैसे आप बोले clear नहीं है, it becomes a huge challenge. And it's not only about I mean not only about level now, especially now if I consider my job, right? आपका so we most of the applications that we have, right, be the pricing models or credit models that we have, is just a extension of what you have learned in CFA, right? Like simple thing we could consider something like the binomial tree model.
Right.
हम लोग इतना पढ़ लेते हैं, ठीक है, but the extension to that would be the Hallowite one factor model, or you have the Black Diamond toy model, right? Which is just an extension of that. But ये आपको जो fundamentals है वो सिर्फ CFA में मिलता है. And this extension is where you start, seeing the divergence. I mean, even if you go to the credit models, there would be, there are certain, we have the structured model and the reduced form model that we study, right, in CFA.
Right.
You just extrapolate it. You have credit grades, you have bond spread Hallowite. So all these things, जो उसके fundamentals है, right? I think the CFA lays the greatest foundation that you have, especially even now if you're looking at now, you would say that okay, आप तो risk management में हो, तो you would expect FRM to be, but
Yeah.
I believe CFA lays that foundation. I mean even FRM करता है, but CFA भी equally करता है, and a lot of these concepts, especially if you consider these sophisticated products, right, are better captured in CFA than in a course like FRM.
Right. That is why I asked you first कि आपने पहले FRM किया उसके बाद CFA किया, क्योंकि जनरली मेरा आइडिया क्या है कि मैंने जब CFA किया था तो मेरा ऑब्जेक्टिव ही था खाली इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, वो भी ऑल्टरनेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट्स. तो मैंने CFA के बाद मैंने CI का सिलेबस भी देखा था, बट CI के सिलेबस में मुझे ऐसा लगा कि जो चीजें वो डिस्कस हो रही हैं प्रैक्टिकली जो हम इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं वो बहुत ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है वर्सेस व्हाट दे आर कवरिंग.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. You're bang on the point.
हाँ, मतलब बहुत बहुत ही ये चाइल्डिश टाइप के कॉन्सेप्ट्स हो गए, जबकि एक्चुअली में अल्टरनेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट बहुत आगे पहुंच चुका है.
करेक्ट, वो बहुत आगे पहुंच चुके हैं, एंड उनके जो पर्सपेक्टिव्स है बहुत आगे पहुंच चुके हैं. आई डोंट थिंक सो
वो बहुत पुराना हो गया. तो मेरे को लगा कि ये तो मेरे को CFA के बाद कुछ और करने की ऐसा टेक्निकली जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी. मेरे को लगा कि ये बेस इज इनफ फॉर मी टू इवन फॉर एग्जांपल CFA इज आल्सो मिक्सचर ऑफ बुक्स, राइट? देयर आर ऑथर्स किए हुए हैं, तो इसके बाद मुझे पढ़ना आसान हो गया. मतलब एनी टेक्निकल स्टफ स्टडी, एनी पेपर स्टडी, the foundation is there. But I don't think so.
Yes, exactly.
FRM does the same for, maybe FRM does for risk management, but maybe FRM doesn't do for all the fields. CFA से शायद आपके तीनों fields की foundation set हो जाएंगे.
Yes, आपके फाउंडेशन एग्जैक्टली, आई थिंक यू आर बैंग ऑन द पॉइंट. वो एग्जैक्टली आपके फाउंडेशन सेट होते हैं, एंड सेकंडली अ लॉट ऑफ दीज मॉडलिंग एस्पेक्ट्स दैट आर देयर, those are not so well covered. I mean, they're covered to a great extent in FRM, but they're better covered in something like a CFA, right? Because they give you because the curriculum is structured in such a way that they give you the underlying, the entire fundamentals of it. So a person who is going through that curriculum, he's better equipped to understand and apply it, because anything that you consider right now, every product that a client has, like, it would be just an extrapolation of what the CFA curriculum has covered before.
Right. One last question for you, क्योंकि आपको शायद नौकरी भी करनी होगी अभी, कि आप मतलब रिस्क, मतलब देखो जैसे कि अभी मतलब रिसर्च में पता है कि क्या स्किल्स चाहिए, मतलब मैं हार्ड स्किल्स की बात कर रहा हूँ. तो रिस्क मैनेजमेंट में आपके हिसाब से कौन सा स्किल, जैसे कि फाइनेंशियल मॉडलिंग इज वेरी क्रिटिकल फॉर रिसर्च, बिकॉज आपको नहीं आता बिजनेस अनलेस आपको मॉडलिंग है ना, और फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट नहीं आता. तो चीज रिस्क मैनेजमेंट में क्या होगी, दो चीजें जो मतलब बाय डिफॉल्ट एक कैंडिडेट ने सीखनी चाहिए apart from the qualification?
Okay, one is one is you have to be very quant savvy. something that statistical mindset energy. And you need to have some understanding of, like you mentioned, financial modeling, right? So if say a client wants to understand how this particular product is priced, okay, that, I mean, to some extent, your financial modeling that you have done, right? Those time value of money concepts, or so those play an important role in your so because they will ask you to understand how this is priced, how I mean what's the, I mean, what is the computation, what are the methods of use behind it. So that's where that comes in. And I mean, it's not exactly like जैसे आप financial modeling equity research के लिए करते हो, right? You take आप extrapolate करते हो for so many years, forecast करते हो, and then you try to value that company. It's not in that sense. This is just in terms of an instrument. The other thing that is quite important is, I feel, communication. Just आपका soft skills रहता है, right? That is really important because
कोडिंग का कुछ यूज नहीं है क्या?
कोडिंग का यूज है, बट दैट डिपेंड्स ऑन द रोल. जैसे आप अगर क्वांटिटेटिव एनालिस्ट के रोल में जाते हो, राइट, वहां पे आपको कोडिंग का यूज होता है. वी यूज अ मिनिमल अमाउंट ऑफ दिस वन, सो कोडिंग, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट एग्जैक्टली कोडिंग. हम लोग थोड़ा जैसे आपके सर्वर लेवल जो क्वेरीज वगैरह रहता है, वो थोड़ा ट्वीक करते हैं. इट्स नॉट लाइक प्योर कोडिंग जो क्वांटिटेटिव एनालिस्ट करते हैं. So and I understand. So it's like to make it more clear. जैसे आप SQL आप देखोगे, right? In terms of risk management, आपको maximum आपको data देखना है कि कैसे आ रहा है, right? You query different data tables. You try to understand the lineage of कैसे वो data आ रहा है. Similarly, आप अगर Python वगैरह करोगे, Python also, what I understand from peers that are there, it works in a similar fashion. You don't have to create applications from scratch. तो थोड़ा मिनिमल अमाउंट आपको चाहिए रहता है. I mean,
मेरा क्वेश्चन था कि सपोज किसी को मॉन्टे कार्लो सिमुलेशन या बाइनरी मॉडल्स अगर एक्सेल में तो पॉसिबल ही नहीं है प्रैक्टिस करना.
हाँ, एक्सेल में पॉसिबल नहीं है. You're bang on this point, but you can show them. So usually clients also have this thing, right? कि compute कैसे हुआ है. You can show them maybe a smaller piece of it कि कैसे हो रहा है, ठीक है, so that they understand, because you can't, like जैसे आप बोले, like your Excel will crash in this case. इतना तो possible नहीं है. So yeah, so to a small extent, you can show them ki this is how your numbers are getting computed. This is how this is, and then you can share with them, like in our case, we share a lot of research papers with the clients. So we share with them the research papers so that they better understand ki kya ho raha hai, and based on the Excel sheet, they get a sort of a sample view ki ho kya raha hai isme. It was like I think you're bang on the point. 5,000 simulation, 10,000 simulation दिखाना आसान बात नहीं.
Data table also, when you actually, I mean, the scale of data as you increase and the kind of simulation that you run on Excel, it tends to like 4 processor 5 processor लगने के बाद भी वो कभी-कभी चलता है वो.
हाँ, वो लंबा चलता है. Even if you consider like a software that we provide, even in that वो काफी time लगता है, because the server has to compute those different 10 से 5,000 simulations. उतना time तो लगता है, right, उसको compute करके वो paths निकालने में.
तो सर अभी आप खुश हो, मतलब लाइफ में you are very happy with Morgan Stanley?
Yeah, I mean, no complaints. I mean, life is going on fine.
Last निखिल बोल रहा था कि CFA करने का इज्जत बहुत मिलती है, तो आपको क्या लगता है, इज्जत मिलती है? इज्जत मिली आपको बहुत? ये ऑफिस में आपको इज्जत मिली स्टैनली में?
टू बी ऑनेस्ट, देखो इधर काफी लोग CFA है, ठीक है. मतलब
नहीं, तो क्या हुआ?
I mean, when I joined this company initially, right, this was a cultural shock that usually आप कोई भी दूसरे कंपनी में जाओ, आप अगर CFA करते हो, वो बंदा CFA है, मतलब you understand, right, that पर्सपेक्टिव बनता है. बट इधर इनका कल्चर ही ऐसा है कि
FRM कर रहे सब कर दोगे.
हाँ, तो वही मतलब I mean you banged on, I mean you got it right on the point. So the organization culture is such that कि आपको you have to they encourage this learning, and since they encourage this learning, a lot of the my peers or co-workers over here.
जैसे सर एक क्वेश्चन है, निखिल का कंप्लेन था कि उसके कंपनी के साथ में, मतलब सीनियर लेवल पे, देयर इज लाइक लॉट ऑफ crappy politics and all which is happening. How do you see that is different in case of, I don't know whether you will tell me the truth or not, but what is the scene with MNCs, international MNCs? या वो निखिल की बातें को कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट करना चाहते हो आप?
नहीं, I agree with this point that there is that थोड़ा politics रहता ही है, ठीक है, but it depends on organization to organization, and he also mentioned that all organizations I think are not alike, right? They don't all fall in that category. Some of them do have this meritocracy approach, ठीक है, so I mean they do cater to you in that angle. I mean, you don't have. Pardon, sorry.
What's the scene with MSCI? Does it have meritocracy criteria?
Yeah, they do have meritocracy criteria. Sorry.
You will have to say
sorry.
that.
No, in general, I'm not trying just because I'm working with them. I'm saying this, but in general, they do have this criteria because a lot of your be it your annual increments are all decided on how you have performed over the year rather than the politics it plays in.
Do you sometimes feel the pressure of working in corporate? Like, I want to just get away from this. ऐसा होता है कभी आपको?
नहीं, वो होता है, to be honest, वो होता है, and I mean, you have to be honest, and I recommend this to everyone. Actually, even my boss recommends this to me that you need to take leaves. अभी because क्या होता है कि because you are continuously on the go, right, for say you work for 3 months 4 months continuously, you need to take that refresher because आपका कभी क्या होता है ना, you take that refresher, maybe there was some perspective, like this is an analytical profile, right? There was some perspective that you were lacking back then, right? Maybe you're not able to think clearly because your mind is refreshed. This is something that you need, and I mean, a lot of them say that you have to be ambitious, hardworking. I agree with all that, but please I recommend everyone to please take the breaks, because if you don't take a break, you will be mentally exhausted and you'll not be able to perform on your job.
And probably you stop enjoying the whole process only then.
Yes, exactly. You start
in the morning. Last question. I'll end it here. Okay. Do in the morning when you are coming to office, do you feel like you want to go to office?
Yes. I mean, I'm not saying it out of compulsion, but I feel like I'm into office. But then, I mean, to be honest, just like any other human, you have your good days and bad days. So it can vary. But
senior हो गए ना, अभी तो आपको कोई पूछता थोड़ा ना होगा.
I mean, हम लोग के यहाँ तो फ्लेक्सिबल है, तो उतना तो है नहीं, मतलब we just have to come maybe a couple of days a week. तो वो उस मामले में फ्लेक्सिबल है, बट फिर भी ठीक है, मतलब ऐसा कोई कंपल्सन तो नहीं है कि आपको आना ही है, बट एक चीज है, आई मीन द मेन थिंग इज योर डिलीवरेबल, राइट? अगर आप डिलीवर नहीं कर पा रहे हो, ठीक है, देन देयर कुड बी क्वेश्चंस एंड देयर कुड बी एक्शन टेकन.
सर, आपके साथ बात करके ना बहुत मजा आया, एंड आई हैव जस्ट वन कॉम्प्लीमेंट टू गिव टू यू, इज दैट इन स्पाइट ऑफ डूइंग सो मेनी थिंग्स, इन स्पाइट ऑफ हैविंग, यू आर द मोस्ट हम्बल CFA आई हैव एवर मेट. मतलब आप बहुत ही इतने सॉफ्ट स्पोकन CFA FRM से इतना नॉलेज वाला आदमी मेरे को आज तक नहीं मिला, एंड आई थिंक दैट इज समथिंग प्रोबब्ली दैट स्टूडेंट शुड आल्सो लर्न, एंड प्रोबब्ली आई कैन आल्सो लर्न. इसकी आपकी ह्यूमिलिटी काफी, probably that is the reason why you have been so successful, and I wish you all the best. And probably you are also teaching with us, right?
Yes, I'm teaching with you. I think I'm be mentoring students this weekend.
ये बोल सकते हैं ना MSCI मतलब, ये MSCI conflict तो नहीं है ना?
ऐसे conflict तो नहीं है. I mean, this is outside of my working hours, and it doesn't conflict with the industry.
अगर नहीं है तो काट दूंगा मैं, बता देना आप.
ठीक है, चलिए. No worries.
Chalo, Rohan, I'll see you again in class and hope to be working with you and talking to you again.
Sure. It was nice talking to you as well, Alan. Have a great day.
You too.